Hey there, I get it. Standing in front of a tech aisle or scrolling endless product pages, you're wondering whether this desktop is just another overhyped box or actually the workhorse you need. You don't want to drop a good chunk of cash on a system that looks impressive on paper but ends up gathering dust because it can't keep up with your real-world tasks. And if you're the type who wants the smoothest gaming experience on the side while still being able to run a few spreadsheets, a couple of video calls, and maybe a virtual machine for work, this is exactly the kind of decision you're wrestling with right now. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's unpack the HP OmniDesk Tower the way a typical buyer would. First off, the headline specs are eye-catching: an AMD Ryzen 7 processor, 32GB of DDR5 RAM, a Radeon 780M graphics chip, and a 1TB SSD. On the surface, that looks like a setup that could comfortably power a high-settings gaming session, render a 4K video, or keep dozens of browser tabs open without slowing down. The real question is how those specs translate into day-to-day performance, especially when you factor in the environments people actually use the machine in: home offices with limited space, shared living rooms that double as gaming stations, or small business desks where reliability trumps flashy marketing. If you're a gamer who also needs to handle work files, you'll appreciate the dual display capability built into the tower. I've seen folks hook this PC up to a 27-inch 144Hz monitor for the immersive FPS experience, then slide a second 24-inch screen for Discord chats and a spreadsheet. The Radeon 780M isn't a flagship card, but it holds its own in titles like Valorant and Fortnite at 1080p high settings, delivering smooth frame rates that feel blazing fast for the price point. When you shift to a more demanding game like Cyberpunk 2077, you'll need to dial back some graphics settings, but the experience remains playable rather than jittery. Now, the multitasking angle: 32GB of DDR5 memory is a concrete advantage if your workflow includes heavy applications. Think Adobe Photoshop with multiple layers, simultaneous virtual machines, or large datasets in Excel. In practice, this amount of RAM means you can keep your IDE, a design program, a browser with 30 tabs, and a Discord voice channel open without hitting a memory ceiling. The 1TB SSD also contributes to that feeling of instant responsiveness. Boot times are measured in seconds, and loading large project files is practically instantaneous. But the tower isn't without hidden trade-offs. The most noticeable is heat management. The chassis design focuses on a premium, calm presence, but the vents are relatively modest. In a packed office or a small bedroom where the ambient temperature can creep above 75 F, 24°C, the fans can get louder under sustained load, especially when you're gaming for a couple of hours straight. That noise level isn't a deal breaker for most, but if you plan to keep the PC in a quiet home office environment, you'll want to factor in a possible aftermarket cooling solution or simply accept a low hum during intensive tasks. Another consideration is the lack of a dedicated GPU power connector. The Radeon 780M draws power directly from the motherboard, which simplifies cable management but also caps the card's ability to scale up. If you ever decide you want a true desktop-grade GPU for 1440p or 4K gaming, you'll need to replace the internal graphics or add a separate GPU, which could mean upgrading the power supply and dealing with a tighter case interior. Who should buy this? I'd say it's a solid fit for small to medium business owners who need a dependable, all-in-one workstation that can also run a game on the weekend without needing a separate gaming rig. The built-in Windows 11 Pro licenses make it attractive for corporate environments that require domain-join capabilities and BitLocker encryption. If you are a freelancer juggling design work, client video calls, and occasional esports practice, the OmniDesk's RAM and SSD speed give you that feel-good immediacy you want. Who should skip it? If you're a hardcore gamer who expects ultra-high settings at 1440p or 4K, the Radeon 780M will feel limiting. You'll quickly outgrow it and be forced into a more expensive desktop with a dedicated RTX or Radeon RX series card. Similarly, if you are an IT professional looking for a server-grade machine, something that can run multiple VMs 24/7, the lack of ECC memory and a more robust cooling architecture makes this tower a poor fit. Also, if you're sensitive to background noise, the modest cooling solution could be a nuisance. Let's talk value. The price point of the HP OmniDesk sits at the sweet spot between entry-level gaming PCs and higher-end workstations. You're essentially paying for a ready-to-go package that includes a modern CPU, plenty of RAM, and a fast SSD without needing to buy those components separately. In many builds, you'd have to spend extra on a dedicated graphics card, a quality power supply, and possibly a custom cooling solution. With this tower, you get a decent graphics solution out off the box and enough headroom for everyday multitasking, which,